All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli. Glad you could all join us here today, here on Coach Eli 22222, Coach Eli 2 Uncensored Live Streams. Welcome to the show. If you are here live, it is Thursday, June 9th, 2022. But if you're here on the replay, stick around. You didn't miss much. This is going to have tremendous evergreen replay value. Today, we're going to be doing part 2 of a very important show my lady and I started a few days ago. Part 1, the replay of part 1 is available here on this channel. But before we get to all of that, let me just make sure that the YouTube notification has gone out. And it looks like it absolutely has. Let me also check out the back end of YouTube and make sure that everything is rolling smoothly. And it absolutely is. So today, we're not going to waste any time because there's still quite a bit to go through regarding this topic. I have my wonderful, beautiful, amazing, and talented lady hanging out backstage on the StreamYard. We're going to bring her on here in just about a minute or so. But let's just go over the topic and get right to it. Today's topic is my lady and I talk about why modern men are so insecure, part 2. Part 2. One more time. My lady and I talk about why modern men are so insecure, part 2. We did part 1 a few days ago on June 6th, 2022. The replay is available here on this channel. Just, go back and find it, and you'll be able to view it. So if you're here actually watching this show live and you missed part 1, stick around, or you may want to go and watch part 1 now and come back and watch this on the replay. That's totally up to you. We've got a few people here in the chat, but we'll address them once I bring my lady on. So without further ado, please welcome back my wonderful, beautiful, amazing lady to the show. Welcome back, babe. Big round of applause.
Thank you so much, my love. And,
you're very
welcome,
baby,
Lewis.
baby. You gotta give me a chance to say you're very welcome, my love, baby. I think I'm going to hand over the reins of you being the main host here, and I'm just gonna sit back. Lots of love, baby. Lots of love. I'm trying to pay you props in return, baby. Baby, I'm trying to pay you props in return, and you're like, thank you so much, my love. Queen in the chat and Lewis in the chat, welcome, right? Baby, you're funny. And we'll get to the chat in just a second, babe. How are you doing today? Welcome back to the show.
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. Really good.
We got a little bit of
I had a good night's rest.
We got a bit of an echo coming in. You may need to shut down all your apps and hold the phone closer to you. Do you want to do that right now and then come right back? That's what she's doing, and she'll be back on the StreamYard in just a second. So we're going to wait for her. Lewis and Queen, welcome. We'll get to you in a second. Please moderate this chat as you always do. When Queen and Lewis are here, we can just run the show without any problems at all. It's always a great show when Lewis and Queen are here. There's the StreamYard. Boop. Let's bring the lady back on. Welcome back, babe.
Does that sound better?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
You sound like $1 billion bucks, baby.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Baby, when two people are truly in love, the man can get away with a few cheesy lines every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the only time men can't get away with cheesy lines is when the woman doesn't have respect for him or really love him, right?
Yep.
But we're not here to talk about cheesy lines. Maybe we'll do a show on that down the road. But anyway, before we get to the chat, welcome back, baby. Real quick, in case people need some more content to watch later on this week, I did a stream last night here on Coach Eli 2, Uncensored Live Streams. And it was titled 3 Dating Stories to seriously learn from and get success. And, it was going to be a show I was going to do by myself, but my lady in the chat wanted to pop on for a little bit. So she popped on that show during the first part for about 15, 20 minutes or so. So if you need more content to watch besides this 2-part series here, you can check that out. Lots and lots and lots more content is coming to this channel, right, baby? And to the Coach Eli, network of channels, right, baby?
Yes.
Yeah. So before we get to it, let me just address the chat real quick and we can say hello. Lewis Fuller is in the house. He says, good afternoon, Eli. Good afternoon, Lewis. It's still good morning here in my neck of the woods and my lady's neck of the woods. Welcome. Just gave you a like. Thank you for that, Lewis. We greatly appreciate it. And Queen Helen Casey's in the house. Hi, Queen.
Yes.
How you doing? Oh, and you haven't seen it on your screen yet because of the delay, babe. But NC is Queen is in the house. NC is Queen says Eli, and the two pink hearts. Thank you so much. And Lewis gave me 3 pink hearts. I gotta have. No, Queen, she's okay. Queen, that's okay. Queen, you didn't know that? Queen, NC is Queen, has been around for a long time, so she is good to stay. I just unbanned NC is Queen. That's okay. Queen, hasn't been moderating for a while, so she doesn't know a lot of the new people. But Queen will hear that. It's interesting. It doesn't show like hidden or unhidden. Give me a second here. Okay. Give me a second here. Yeah, that's weird. It's not. Give me a second here. I think we're good. And once Queen hears what I say, when the delay hits her, she'll know. Queen, anyone that you ban and we unban, just know it's someone that's good that you didn't know because you haven't been around for a little while. No problem. All right, so are we ready to rock and roll this thing, baby?
Yeah. Hey, I want to just say really quick, that background is absolutely beautiful.
Well, baby, let me turn off my. And it's going to take a bit for you to see this without me, but I'm going to turn off my video for a second, and you can see the background there. Yeah, I get my backgrounds from Canva. I have a paid monthly license that I use, and I've got just tens of thousands of images that are great for the background. And typically, depending on the time of day that I do these live streams, babe, if it's during the daytime, I'll have like a daytime type of background. If it's during the night, you have a cool night background. It just gives you that feel, like you're there if you're watching it live, right?
Yeah.
So let me turn back on.
I literally want to find this place and sit on that bench.
Well, there are plenty of places like that, near our area in the San Francisco Bay Area, baby, and I'm sure we'll explore some of them this weekend. But thank you for the compliment regarding the background. All right, so baby, I'm going to switch on over to the browser screen, and we're going to remind people first and foremost the topic of this very long blog that we started going over few days ago during part 1 of the show is titled Toxic Masculinity is a Myth, but Insecure Men Lash Out at Women. One more time. Toxic masculinity is a myth, but insecure men lash out at women. And when we first, were talking about this on, or during part 1, babe, we were saying, wow, what a great title. Like, I honestly think toxic masculinity does exist, but what toxic masculinity really is just a bunch of insecure men lashing out at women, just projecting their unhappiness and misery. And these guys don't realize the reason why women are not giving them the time of day is because of their major insecurities. Why would any woman want to be with an insecure man? Right, baby? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I've had my own bouts with some insecure men, and it was a major turnoff. Excuse me. I
Did you
thought
say turn
that
on? Did you say turn on, or did you mean to say turn off?
turn off, turn
Okay,
off.
turn off. Turn off. Okay.
Yeah, no, in the beginning I thought I could inspire this man to have more drive and do more for the future, but ultimately I had no control over him. He had no drive. He had no motivation, and there was nothing I can do. And that once I realized that, that was the biggest turnoff for me. I was done.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, now, I had a message held for a review from NC's Queen. Let me approve it here. NC's Queen says, sadly, most men on YouTube are pathetic, especially those that live on YouTube. There are a lot of mentally strong and intelligent guys in this world. And then NC's Queen says, Queen Helen Casey, hello. Yeah, Queen didn't know about you because she's been more focused on Twitter and hasn't been spending a lot of time on YouTube until lately. But she knows you now, NC's Queen, and you make absolute perfect sense. And it's not just men on YouTube. That's just one place these types of men congregate to. It's men all over other social media platforms. It's men in the real world. A lot of these men in the real world, they come out here on YouTube and use YouTube as an outlet to project their insecurities and to congregate with other sad and pathetic and lonely and miserable men. And it just makes the matters worse. In order for men to work through this, they need to associate with stronger, confident, very secure men. The problem is, and I'm saying this humbly right now, okay? I'm humbly speaking right now. I'm a very strong and secure man, and I can help these men. The problem is when they see men like me, they try to kick me down because they wish they could be as strong and secure as myself. And so they, attack me or other men that they, feel are more secure and stronger than them, in an attempt to kick us down to their level, so that way they can feel better. But it's not until they're ready to own up to the fact that they're being insecure and they own up to the fact that they need help that anyone, let alone myself, can help them. What are your thoughts about that, babe?
Yeah, no, and I actually agree with NC. I'm on a lot of different social media platforms, and I have never seen more pathetic men than on YouTube. Like, it's just on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Instagram. Nobody acts this way but
Well,
on
you know why?
YouTube.
You know why they do it on YouTube before we get to the next part of the blog here? They do it on YouTube because as much as YouTube says they try to, remove content like this and stop bullying and harassment and stop bullying and harassment and hate attacks and all that. Um, YouTube is not really good at that, and these guys can create multiple Google accounts. So even if you ban them, they can keep coming back and chat in your live stream chats, continue projecting. They can continue to hammer your comments section. And, that's the reason why they more so congregate to YouTube, because YouTube is the friendliest at letting them get away with it. Now, eventually, when they push it too far, YouTube catches up with them and takes them down. But hang on a second. We had a fake, NC is Queen in here. But Queens NCS Queen says they are jealous, and that's what it is. That's exactly what it is, and they don't need to be jealous. All they have to do is work on themselves, become the best version of themselves they can be, become happy within themselves, and they'll attract other happy people that will contribute to their happiness. So it's up to them, until they're ready to, you know, admit what they're going through and then allow people to help them. I was on that to Bandit, says Queen. No worries, Queen. No worries. Yeah, something weird's going on with YouTube today. It's not saying that user has been hidden. It's hiding them, but it's not putting the message in the chat for the mods to see. So maybe YouTube is having some slight issues, but that is okay. Anything else, babe, before we get to it here?
I just honestly want to say, NC is Queen is right. There are a lot of mentally strong and intelligent guys in this world. I've met several of them. I have several of them in my family, and they don't get tied up in all of this drama and craziness. They don't try to take other men down in order to make themselves feel better. So, yeah, I totally agree with everything she said in that statement.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Okay. Let's continue with the blog where we left off from part 1. We were going to talk about testosterone, and this is a very, very crucial topic here. So let's get to it, baby. You can see it on your screen there, I'm assuming. The delay's passed on long enough to where you can see it. All right. Baby? I cannot.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there on the screen.
Okay, perfect. All right, testosterone tends to shoulder the blame for poor male behavior, and it is true that higher testosterone levels are linked to low risk aversion. Interesting. Aggression and violent tendencies. I forgot to mention that. So higher testosterone levels are linked to low risk aversion, aggression, and violent tendencies. Men with higher sex hormone levels are also more sensitive to masculinity threats, but Vendello is reluctant to blame biology for men lashing out when their manhood is threatened. Social rules, consequences, and the policing of masculinity reinforce the idea that men have to perform and defend it. Must be convinced that their manhood is suspect. This is not an innate anxiety. What are your thoughts about that, babe?
Wow.
Well said, huh?
Yeah, wow. Yes, I do believe that men with higher levels do tend to be more aggressive. And that's because, they're not able to process things the right way with their hormone levels. Like everybody says women are emotional beings. We have hormones as well.
Mm-hmm.
At least when we're emotional, we go down and get depressed and cry. When men do it, they go the other way and they get violent, aggressive, and half the time um they do it against their women that they have.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, babe? Like you've heard some people say, dude, you're like acting up. You need to bust a nut. And there is a lot of truth to when men ejaculate, it does, relieve, a lot of that tension that comes with very high levels of testosterone.
Absolutely.
Baby, I have an extremely high level of testosterone, high T and low E, right? Low estrogen, high testosterone, right?
And
And
really
so,
good DC.
and really good DC. I thank you for the compliment, baby. I wasn't Anyway, you have to make it a little funny, and that's good. You're very funny, baby. I appreciate that. Um,
Right.
but you see, a lot of people that have followed me for quite some time out here on YouTube, um, you know, make fun of me for things I say. But I used to come out and say, and sometimes I may still do this. I do what's called a pre-stream ritual. Sometimes I will, jerk my own chain to release a little bit. Of course, I think about you when I do it, baby. But when a man does ejaculate, it is so intense. It releases all of that, all the tension built up from having high testosterone. Nothing wrong with a man having high testosterone. Okay, the problem is when a man can't release, and when a man doesn't have like a good woman to be intimate with and have that release. And women need the same release on the flip side too. We can talk about that another time, baby, when we do a show more on women and estrogen and stuff like that. The problem is when men don't release, that's when they can become violent, and when their manhood is questioned, like was mentioned in the blog, in that section of the blog, they can get violent and do things that they don't mean to do, such as what that young 18-year-old man did in Uvalde, Texas. He probably has high T, and his manhood was questioned. And that's what happens. What are your thoughts about that
Well,
before we
and
move forward?
I'm sorry, I think that's what happens a lot here on YouTube. We've got a lot of lonely men that are not releasing the right way. They have no women. And if they do, the women aren't like stable, they don't stay. Um, so that's where I think a lot of this male aggression comes from on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we see a lot of it, maybe the majority of it on YouTube, but it's not actually, it's not actually YouTube's fault. These men try to go other places to, lash out in these ways, but most other places are so much better at removing this crap. They come on YouTube because YouTube takes forever to either remove like a community guideline violation, or they just never do it. So that's why they come out here. That's what I've seen, over the past 5+ years regarding my experiences out here on YouTube, and why it's more
Yeah.
apparent out here. But this is actually happening everywhere. It's just more apparent on the YouTube platform because they don't moderate it as strictly as other platforms do. Right. And this stems from your
Yeah.
real life. Social media is just social media has just a bunch of platforms that is basically exposing who we are. Like, I say this, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I found another entrepreneur baby named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says social media isn't changing us, it's exposing us. And it really is. Wouldn't you agree with that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So ready to move forward, baby?
We get on there, we express our feelings, we express our emotions, everything, our highs, our lows. And yeah, we really open ourselves up on social media.
Well, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. And I used to do that. I used to have everything public, even on Facebook, because I didn't care who saw my stuff. But when I came on YouTube and I realized how brutal some of these guys are and how jealous they are of men that are secure within themselves, in order to try to stop you and get back at you, they will dig through every public piece of information you have and then make content off of it, and try to slow down your progress of what you're trying to create out here. Queen Helen Casey says that's when you go after YouTube on Twitter to argue with them. It's not worth it, Queen. You just ignore it and move on. I mean, if you have team YouTube on Twitter is great when you have issues like you get a community guideline strike and it was done by mistake, or if you have some minor technical issues, they'll help you, baby. You're shuffling around.
Yeah.
I hear that. You may want to mute
Okay.
while you're doing
I'm
that.
sorry, I was looking for something on my table. I'll stop.
Okay. No, you can do it. Just make sure you mute when you're doing stuff. No worries. No worries. the best thing to do is to just ignore it and continue moving forward, and eventually YouTube will find your actual audience. All right, so let's continue here, babe. Let's get to the next paragraph here, and it'll
Yeah.
scroll up on your screen. In just a little bit, but you can still see it at the bottom
Yeah.
there. Just a second. The construction of gender identity for men is more fragile than women. In many cultures, one is born a woman and one becomes a man. Psychotherapist, podcaster, and author Esther Perel recently wrote on her well-trafficked personal site, Perel, the mother of two boys, was teasing a conference dubbed The Paradox of Masculinity. Ooh, that's a great title, The Paradox of Masculinity, at which she spoke to a packed room of therapists in Midtown Manhattan, in New York, near your area, Queen, and to an international audience via a video link. Wow, that's a great audience there, about the need for a better understanding of what makes men tick. Let me just continue here, okay? Now, I'm going to be scrolling up, baby, so you're not going to be able to see this for too long. One of the 5 pillars of male identity she discussed in her keynote was trauma. And keep in mind trauma, baby, because this is what we're going to focus this response on. I'm sure you feel the same way. She explained to her majority female audience that most men experience rejection tied to masculinity at some point in their lives, and that this often leaves a profound mark. To illustrate this point, she shared a clip of the documentary The Work about men in group therapy in a prison. In the clip, a man describes being sent away by his engineer father for not understanding how to help work on a car. Decades after he was told to go find his mother, the wound is still clearly fresh. He cries. So, baby, here's the thing, okay? The issue typically is, unresolved trauma stemming back primarily to a man's childhood, or it could be, a past relationship or a past marriage. And if men don't resolve that trauma, it continues to compound and gets worse. And then they can just fly off the handle at any minute, right? And that's why they also come out here on YouTube and other social media platforms to lash out at men they perceive to be stronger and more secure and better than them, because they haven't resolved that trauma. What are your thoughts about that? Wasn't that well written there?
It was really well written. Basically, it's putting the blame on the fathers for why these men are acting the way they're acting.
Right.
And the mother, like, decades after he told his mother, the wound is still clearly fresh. He couldn't talk to her back then. It's so sad that this happens to a lot of young boys while they're being raised.
Yeah. And, here's the thing I've noticed, baby. I've tried to help so many men on YouTube and other social media platforms. And the thing is, you can't approach them to try to help them with a problem they're going through, when it comes to unresolved trauma, because it triggers them more and they become more unstable, and they more so attack you because they feel you're attacking their manhood. And no, I'm not attacking your manhood. I'm trying to help you become a better man that you deserve to become, right?
Yes.
So the thing is, they have to come to it. They have to come to terms with it, which is what I'm trying to say, on their own free will. And for some, it may take longer than others. And unfortunately, for many, they may never get to that point and live the rest of their lives with this unresolved trauma, lashing out not only at other women, but other men that they perceive to be, stronger and more secure than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, baby? Or should we continue?
No, let's continue going on to the next one, because this is interesting as well.
Okay, real quick. Queen Helen Casey in the chat says, I don't live in that town. I live close to Canada, but only 5 or 6 blocks from Canada. Oh, you're near the border. That's cool, Queen. Okay, let's continue. Perel's audience respectfully scribbled notes. but not all of her colleagues have been so pleased to have a woman looking under the hood of maleness. Well, you see, here's the thing. A strong and secure man is not going to have a problem with any woman looking under the hood of maleness or dissecting how men are, because we're secure. And like for me, baby, if you were to talk about this, and I didn't know you and I heard you, sharing this is how men are, I would be like, wow, girl, you're pretty spot on. You get it. I have respect for you. It is the men that are in this insecure and very emotionally unstable and traumatized state that honestly, I feel these guys are trying to desperately work. Baby, I'm in the middle of a thought and you went, oh. That
I was reading
that
on.
These men are desperately trying to work through, these mentally and emotionally unstable and traumatized states. But they continue to struggle because of the fact that the only way that they're going to be able to work. See, I lost, baby. You can't interrupt me in the future like that because I lose my train of thought. No, I'm not getting mad. You're new to this and you're getting used to it. But I had a really good thought and I lost my train of thought. But the bottom line is I think a lot of these guys, when they lash out, they're really honestly, they're really honestly trying to work through it. But when they lash out, they don't realize. And when they lash out and especially try to kick down other men so they can feel better, they're only making the matters worse. They have to start allowing other men that are stronger to help them get to their level. And until they do that, they're going to keep going down the cycle of lashing out and being insecure and all that. Go ahead. What were you going to say, babe?
No, I was just reading ahead and it's very interesting.
Well, how about I'll read it. Now there's something like now we're feeding back, baby.
How are we feeding back? I didn't change anything.
Testing.
Can you hear me?
Maybe your phone was in a different position.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right.
Okay, now we're good. I don't know if you have your fan on and
I'm
hearing
nothing
feedback.
is going on here. It's completely quiet.
Maybe turn down your volume just a little bit.
Okay, that's as low as I can go because otherwise I can't hear you.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that was it. I think the volume was so loud it was feeding back in, but you can actually hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, try not to get ahead because it really throws things off guard, or not off guard. It really throws things off on the show. I'm going to read through it and we'll go through it at the same time and dissect it on the fly. When you read ahead and you react to something that I haven't read or the audience hasn't heard me say, then it really throws off the show. And I know you're learning this. No, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible because we're on the air and I love you, baby. But you know what I'm saying, right? You're just excited because
I'm just getting excited about it.
Because you really truly want to help as many people as possible, and I understand that. But let's continue. Okay. Let's see. A handful of men that I respected professionally went straight into attack mode. Perel recently told Psychotherapy Networker they immediately went into diatribes that implied they thought this couldn't be anything other than an organized attack on men or a misguided woman's attempt at feminizing their gender. This is not about women trying to feminize a man's gender. This is about women coming out and saying the same things I'm saying. You guys are acting like weak, pathetic female dogs. You guys are acting this way. I just tapped my microphone. Can you folks, you can still hear me, right, babe? You guys are reacting and you're overreacting, for no reason here, right? And the reason why they're even reacting to when women say it more so is because they know the women are right. Men do not react to things that people are saying wrong, right? They only react to things that people are calling them out on that are right. Does that make sense, babe?
Absolutely.
Okay. This was
Sorry.
predictable. Go ahead.
Did you hear that?
I didn't hear anything. Hear what?
Oh, there's a very loud motorcycle outside.
That's okay. That's okay. Let's just do the best we can to mute it when you're not talking, and then when you are, you unmute. No worries. Um,
Yeah.
Precarious masculinity seems to show up everywhere, but the most obvious place most people encounter it is in humor. Research indicates that men do not typically prefer sexist and homophobic humor, but psychologist Thomas Ford has found that men who believe masculinity can be taken away are more likely to respond positively to sexist and homophobic jokes. Interestingly, this group of insecure men do not seem to have acquired a taste for racist jokes. Why not? Presumably because sexist and homophobic humor has a uniquely gender-affirming quality. Jokes allow men to reassert their masculinity by distancing themselves from perceived femininity. Here's the thing. Let me start this off, baby, and get your opinion. This happens on YouTube all the time with these guys. Like, even with a bunch of these straight men, other straight men are attacking other straight male content creators on this platform and saying that this dude is gay and this and that when he really isn't, right?
Yeah.
And this is what insecure men do. This is what insecure men that have unresolved traumatic issues do. Because a strong, confident, secure, down to earth, genuine man is not going to feel the need to attack another man and call another straight man gay, for any reason, unless they're projecting onto that man. Does that make sense, baby?
Yes.
It's childish.
Absolutely.
It's childish and stupid. Now, granted, when we were on grammar school and before we became adults and matured, yes, that's when us guys would say and do stupid shit like that. But by the time you get to your early to mid 20s at the latest or so, you should have grown
Grow
up
the
by
fuck
then.
up.
But now
Yeah,
you're
grow the
seeing
fuck up.
now I'm seeing guys out here on YouTube that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they're behaving like all of us guys behaved in grammar school, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just asinine and very, very pathetic. Any man that is going to attack a straight man and say he's gay when he's not is just projecting their own insecurities.
Yeah.
It's basically a direct reflection of how they see themselves. Go ahead.
No, I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Every time a man attacks another man like that, it's absolutely a projection. Um, so I like this one that says perceived threats to masculinity leads to
Mm-hmm.
higher incidence of domestic violence and sexual assault. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was my ex 2 exes ago, the one after my marriage. He was all about that because he didn't have the testosterone flowing. I mean, this might be TMI, but he only had one testicle. So that could be a very big indication with some of these men.
Yeah. And Lewis Fuller is back. Good afternoon, Eli, says Lewis Fuller. Welcome back to the show, Lewis. Great to see you here. Um, yeah, baby, I'm sorry. What you were saying, remind me the last part what you were just saying.
Oh, I was just saying that I was quoting that perceived threats to masculinity leads to higher incidence of domestic violence and sexual assault. I'm
Right.
referencing that back to not my last ex, but the one before that. And I don't
Right.
know if it had anything to do with the fact he only had one testicle.
There you go.
He was
So
overcompensating.
yeah, I don't think having one testicle removed is going to affect. I don't know if it affects a man's testosterone level, but I think it affects his confidence when, if he's going to perform sexually with a woman and she sees that he only has one ball instead of two balls, right?
Yeah.
So, but there was a baseball player. Do you remember a guy named John Kruk? I think he was on the Philadelphia
Yeah.
Phillies. Yeah, yeah, John Kruk. I believe had surgery
Pitcher,
and
right?
he no, John Kruk
No?
was I think he was a first baseman if I remember correctly. American baseball player. Um, let me see here. Give me just a second here. Let me see
Hello,
here.
Lewis.
He was first. Yeah, he was first baseman and left fielder, but he mostly played first base. Yeah, it's been a while. One nut. I don't mean to make fun of you, John. Like we were all I was a lot younger when this happened to Kruk. This was like decades ago, and um, yeah, we were. Gosh, I mean, I've had my insecure moments too, baby. But this is nothing to laugh at. But yeah, John Kruk had one of his testicles removed, and
Uh-huh.
Kruk mishap leads to cancer diagnosis, testicle removed. This was back in 1994, so this was like 18 years ago. 18 years ago. Basically, and I don't have this on the screen. Doctors said a throw by Williams that hit
Baby,
Kruk in the
it
groin.
was in 1994.
Yeah,
That's a lot longer than 18 years.
044. Sorry. That was 28 years. Sorry, I screwed that up. 94,
Yes, I
04,
wanted to make
14.
sure you didn't look dumb.
I apologize. Sometimes when you're live on the air, you screw up. That was 28 years ago. And this is what happened. Doctors said a throw by Williams, Mitch Williams, I remember Mitch Williams, that hit Kruk in the groin last summer, this was in 93, led doctors to discover a cancerous tumor in his right testicle. So this was not related, by Mitch Williams, hitting him in the nuts. And I believe, don't baseball players wear cups, right? Don't they
They
wear
should,
cups?
yeah.
They should be wearing cups, right? So maybe he was wearing a cup. But anyway, um, the tumor called seminoma often goes undetected because it does not cause pain, said Philly physician Dr. Philip Marone. Kruk 33 was in good spirits yesterday, one day after doctors removed his testicle during an hour-long operation in Philadelphia. Yeah, I remember this, and I swear to God, Kruk got, every guy on the planet was just ripping on Kruk only having one ball. And I just feel so terrible. I was
Kruk
one of them.
one nut. Kruk one nut.
One nut Kruk.
Kruk.
One nut Kruk. But yeah, anyway, let's
Oh man.
here's the thing. And I'm not gonna even respond. There's a troll. Well, I will, because there's a troll saying it was Dykstra, not Kruk. No, it was Kruk. It was John Kruk. Look it up. You just want
You're
to get my
literally
attention.
reading the article.
Right. You just want to get my attention because I'm ignoring your other trolling accounts. But that's all right. We're going to keep moving forward here. Any other thoughts before we move forward, babe?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. We're going to take a break. We're at 44 minutes. We're going to take a break at like the 55-minute mark. Okay.
All right.
Let's see here. That's the low stakes stuff. The high stakes stuff is much more disturbing. Perceived threats to masculinity lead to higher incidents of domestic violence and sexual assault. Despite having some of the highest rates of gender equity in Europe, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden have the highest rates of intimate partner violence and sexual assault in the EU, because a lot of these guys probably have a high level of testosterone and they're very insecure and they have a lot of unresolved trauma. Dubbed the Nordic paradox, this troubling phenomenon may also... Yes?
Sorry, I just kept reading. Sorry.
Well, you're going to get used to it. Maybe I'll just turn off the screen, baby. But then the audience wouldn't see it. Dubbed the Nordic paradox, this troubling phenomenon may also be occurring in the United States. One study of more than 4,000 families found that women who were the primary breadwinners were more likely to be victims of domestic violence when their partners held more traditional beliefs about gender roles. Well, yeah, this is the thing. And here in the U.S., baby, 30% of households have the woman as the breadwinner, and she's wearing the pants.
That's
now,
what
hold
I
on.
was commenting on,
Yeah, do you
because
mind
that
it?
goes back.
Wait, baby. Listen, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm in the middle of a thought and you cut me off and start responding. And I'm not mad at you and I'm not trying to make us look bad on the air, but you
Go
gotta
on.
let me finish my thought before you jump in, right? So 30% of all households have the woman as the breadwinner and head of household, which has always been, before women were liberated, was always the role of a man and what made a man feel like a man. And even in this modern world where women have been liberated and in many cases are out earning men, it still affects men in the exact same ways. And eventually, unless that man works his butt off to make at least as much as the woman is making or a little more, the woman will lose respect for him and eventually end up leaving him for somebody else. And now, go ahead, baby. I didn't mean to be rude. I'm just saying, like, go ahead. Go ahead. You can respond to what you're going to say now.
Yeah, and you know what? Being in that situation where I was the breadwinner, I didn't completely lose respect as long as he was working. Um, but once he stopped and just I realized his game, then yeah, I lost respect and he became violent. He literally he wanted my money. I purchased everything, all the furniture, all the food, everything was, on me. I paid all the bills, the rent, everything. And, when I would stand up to him to get a job, that's when he would become violent. Because
Yeah,
I was like, dude, I can't do it all by myself. I need your help.
right. And babe, this guy, he probably had a lot of testosterone. Like I'm not
Yes.
trying. I'm not trying to get information about how your sex life was, but he probably had a lot of testosterone sexually, because that's what typically happens to these
Oh,
guys. That's what makes them violent. Go ahead.
and that's the thing he did, and I wouldn't do it because I needed him to prove to me that he was in it to win it with us, and that means getting a job.
Well,
That means looking
the bottom
forward to
line
a
is
future.
right. The bottom line, babe, is you were turned off to the point of where it wasn't because you weren't physically attracted to him to be intimate. You just didn't like his attitude, which was turning you off to not want to be
Well, I
intimate
was
with him.
exhausted because I was the only one working 12-hour shifts a day. So
Oh,
by the time I
okay.
got
So,
home, I had no interest in that because he'd been sitting at
ah,
home on the couch all day, drinking beer and watching Jerry Springer, or Family
right.
Guy.
Typically what women would do, right? Watch daytime drama, right? But anyway,
Yep.
um, Anyway, baby, now you're more so understanding why I'm so tired at times. And it's not that I don't want to be intimate with you. I want to be intimate with you as often as possible. But there are those
No,
times.
but we work hard. Both of us work hard.
Yeah,
There's been
yeah,
times where I just climb into the bed and I'm like, no, let me just lay in your arms. I
yeah,
feel it, but I don't know if I have the energy.
yeah. And exactly. And that's the thing. When you can avoid all drama, any and all drama, that's when you preserve energy to be able to have that intimacy at the end of the night. That's why, like, I can't stand any drama because it takes away energy that I want to use later on in the evening to be romantic with my woman, right? So again, it's not that, oh, baby, you haven't been intimate with me the past few times. Are you still sexually attracted to me? Baby, I'm just really exhausted. I love you. I care about you, right? And women will question that at first until they themselves feel exhaustion and feel what you're feeling, and then you
Uh-huh.
understand it. What's going on, baby? You're like, oh,
Oh,
you're
I just
shuffling around.
sneezed.
Okay,
I
okay,
just sneezed. I'm sorry.
no problem. My lady and I have allergies. We have severe
Oh, bad
allergies,
allergies.
and this year is one of the worst years for pollen because we haven't had a lot of water here. So everything's dried up and everything's just coming right out in the air. You know,
It's just blowing
it's
away. It's blowing all over the place.
yeah, it is horrible. Queen Helen Casey in the chat says, I don't even watch TV that much, only 3 days a week I do. Oh, cool. Well, that same here. I may watch a few streaming shows at night and a little CNN every now and then. And Queen will say CNN equals fake news. I understand. I expect Queen to say that. But yeah, I don't watch that much TV anymore. I'm more so
I
on
watch
YouTube.
TV every day.
Oh, good for you.
I'm a
Okay,
TV whore. You know that.
baby, don't say that. Don't say
Sorry.
that. That's a no.
I
You can say
love
whatever you
watching
want,
my programs. I love documentaries. I love cooking shows. I just like to just watch those kind of things.
baby. Baby, you got to understand one thing out here on YouTube. I think you're learning this that whatever you say can and will be used against you and will be diced and sliced up and taken way out of context. I mean, I've had so many people take things way out of context. Again, trying to make me appear like I'm gay when I'm not. I have no problem. I have gay friends; they're great people. I have nothing against anyone, right? But it's
Oh,
it,
okay.
it,
So I
it
get it.
what
Now I'm gonna not be into bestiality, but I'm gonna be into like having sex with my television. Come on, guys, get over
well,
yourself.
yeah, and baby, you really, really don't need to keep feeding into it. And I understand, it's frustrating, but yeah, it's like, this is what we were talking about earlier relating to the show, is that you have these guys that feel the need to splice things out of context and try to, make it sound like I'm doing something that's considered gay or homosexual when if you hear the actual, piece of content I put out, it's nothing like that. For a guy to go out
Yeah.
of his way to splice it up in that way and take the time to do it, even if he says, "Oh, it only took me like 30 seconds or 20 seconds," it's pretty sad. But anyway, it's all good. Uh, let's continue here because we got to take a break soon.
Let's move on.
Some men see that as a zero-sum game, that women's advancement must come at a cost for men. That's not the reality, but it is the perception, Vandello says. The data indicates that men have a problem with the precariousness of masculinity rather than the toxicity of it. But the core issue is that too many boys and men struggle profoundly for self-worth without the help of outside sources. The thing, baby, real quick before we continue, the thing is that, women are just flat out out earning men and are more educated than men and are just becoming stronger than men. And, instead of men working on themselves and being able to compete with women, they're just basically giving up. And
Yeah.
that's what I've seen. And women are putting in the hard work, getting degrees, getting great jobs, being the breadwinners, right? and acting way
Yeah,
more mature. When you're moving around, baby, I'm just letting you know it picks up on your microphone because you're on speaker. I'm gonna.
I'm so
And,
sorry.
no, it's okay, babe. It's okay. It just distracts my thoughts. It comes in very loud. Anyway, um, I think I said everything I needed to say there. I had a little more, but I lost my train of thought there. Um,
Sorry.
no problem. Anything you want to add to that before we move forward here?
Um, no, I'm good. I think you
Okay.
nailed it.
Okay, thank you, baby. Toxic masculinity is more of a sign of lack of self-worth and self-respect. Psychotherapist Haneli Vieira, who's counseled men for over 3 decades, told Fatherly, this is the blog here, underneath all that instability and anger is a wounded little boy who never taught to value his authentic and genuine experience of himself. Let me repeat that one more time, baby, and I'm going to give you the floor because you have a lot. I know you're going to have a lot to say about this. Underneath all that instability and anger is a wounded little boy who was never taught to value his authentic and genuine experience of himself. Before I turn it over to you for your feedback, baby, I'm going to give the blog author a big round of applause. Baby, I could not have said it better myself. We could wrap up the show right now and be satisfied, but we're not. Wow, baby. Your thoughts.
Wow.
Well said.
I
Well
think,
said.
yeah, it's
Bingo.
very well said. This makes me, it actually kind of hits home, uh, with my son. I believe he is a wounded little boy, but he never gets angered and aggressive with women. But yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with divorce. And yeah, we didn't get to really guide him with that self-worth and self-respect and self-love.
Yeah, you know what, babe? First of all, Lewis Fuller says, I'm in the same boat with you guys. The pollen here is real bad, especially the grass. Yeah, it's one of those, it's because our precipitation nationwide this year is very, very low. But, baby, you know what I think it is? And this, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to your son. But I think, based on what the blog author mentioned earlier and what I've heard before in the past, maybe your son has low testosterone. Maybe he has low T. And maybe he needs to go to the doctors and get his testosterone levels. I was speaking and you weren't there. You cut yourself off.
No, I'm sorry, but blame Bochi. I'm literally sitting here and he knocked the phone out of my hand,
Well,
and
no,
it's all the
you
dog's
can.
fault.
Well, anyway, that's on you. What I was saying, baby, I was talking about your son, and maybe, based on what I've heard and what was said earlier in this blog article, and it makes a lot of sense. I think with your son, um, I think your son has low T, low testosterone, because if he's been through everything that these other guys have been through that are lashing out, and your son's not lashing out, maybe your son has low T, low testosterone, and he needs to get his T levels checked. Now, the trolls are going to sit there and say that your son has low T. Who gives a shit? We're here to truly help people. We're not here to bash anybody. But you know, the cool thing is, you know, um, yeah, your son's been through some experiences. You told me, and he feels he's been hurt by women, and he wants to kind of take it easy, right? Um, at least he's not lashing out. Go ahead.
I want to go back to his childhood, teenage years, post divorce. He lashed out a lot. There were times that I didn't even know who that child was because I saw a switch in his eyes.
Hmm.
And he got angry. He was willing to fight his sister, fight me. He was an angry little boy.
Okay,
But as
so
he's
so
gotten older, he's able to like control that, blanket it, whatever you want to say. And I think that's why he moved, and just to get away and know who, like, just recognize who he is, find his own self and his own purpose.
yeah, yeah, no, maybe he does have high T because I've always had high T, and I used to kind of lash out in those ways when I was younger, even though I had a great upbringing. I think all boys that have high testosterone, they're trying to figure that out in their teenage years, right? And then we've all had bad experiences with women, and then we just have to learn to deal with it and learn how to become better men, right? And learn to understand that not everything's always going to work out. So it sounds like to me, if to be honest with you, if that's the case, it sounds like he has high testosterone. He's just learned to become a better man. He's learned that, hey, you know what? Shit happens. And what am I going to do? If a woman doesn't want to be with me, fuck it. I'll be alone for a while. And if another good one comes around that's worth my time, I'll give her the time of day. I'm going to have a lot of self-love within myself. And it's not worth lashing out because it drains all your energy and kills your day. I think your son has figured that out from what it sounds like, and maybe he still, maybe he still has his guard up, regarding letting women in. But I have a feeling that by the time he hits, his late 20s or early 30s, um, he's going to end up going through what I did. He's going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to put myself out there, be the best version of myself I can be, and put my guard down and live life. And if something doesn't work out, no big deal, no sweat, just wasn't meant to be. I'm going to table it and move on, right? Does that make sense,
Yeah,
baby?
absolutely.
Okay,
I
let me
actually
read.
think
Go ahead.
I actually think the fact that my son went through this in his teenage years and has now progressed so positively in his 20s to like move away, figure things out. He holds no judgment, he holds no anger. He's just like, I got to work on me. And I have a
Right.
lot of respect for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's very respectful. Queen Helen Casey in the chat says I have allergies too. Yeah, yeah. Allegra and Flonase. I use those daily, and it keeps it in check. Before I go live in the studio, I use Flonase. Before I go on my walks, I use Allegra, and it manages it as best as possible. All right, let me just read a little bit more, baby, this last part, and then we're going to take a break. Clinical psychologist Daniel Shear echoes those sentiments, adding that there are some men who see masculinity as stable, biological, and a relatively arbitrary construct, or some combination of the three, which reflects more psychological maturity and likely a higher quality of life. This reflects a different psychological makeup, and the potential for ambiguity is denied. Shear adds, if we're talking psychoanalytically, wow, some big words here.
That's a big word,
The,
baby.
yeah, it's a very big word, baby. The people who acknowledge the constructed and performative nature of masculinity are further along the psychic developmental trajectory. This is like psychologists speak here. But I get it.
Yes.
They're talking about people that have learned and now are heading on the right track and have worked through, you know, you know, worked through any issues. Every single man, baby, when they're younger, is gonna try to figure things out. Like when you're born, the first thing you do is you look down. You're like, "What's this thing? What's this peep? What's this? You know." And then your parents tell you, it's a peepee, right? They call it peepee, right? And as we get older, we got fancy terms: dick, cock, penis, shaft, rod, But it's like a little boy when they're born. They are fascinated with that thing, right, baby? That's totally normal. We are like, wow, what is this, right?
Yep.
Right? Um, let's continue here because there's really not much to add to that. Vandello acknowledges that some men are able to reject the notion that manhood is unstable and needs to be regularly proven, especially as they age. But many of these men who privately reject this still buckle when subjected to the social consequences of nonconformity. Look, it doesn't make you any less of a man to respect a woman that's successful or does things that once were only known as things that men would do. Okay? Like, I'm all for women having the same opportunities as long as they're qualified, right? And hey, if a
Well,
woman
it's
is
just
dead,
like with me being a
if a
nurse, that's a very like um feminine profession that you can make
okay,
a lot of money in. Why would any man be um insecure about something like that?
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, the problem is, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And these are the type of people that come at me on YouTube and off of YouTube and on other social media platforms. It is the middle-aged Caucasian conservative men because these men are so old school. These are the men that never wanted women to have equal rights. These are the men that don't believe in any progression. And while I feel that some progression is ridiculous, most progression is great in my eyes, right? If you're a man
You
that
want to
doesn't
know how
believe,
I feel? I feel y'all are dumbasses because you could double your income a year if you let your woman work.
yeah,
I mean, when I was married to my ex-husband, he was making over six figures. By the time I got settled in my nursing career, I was making over six figures a year. So
okay.
why not just combine it and be successful? Don't be a sad little emas like
I
emasculated man. Like get
I
over
don't think
yourself. Let's make money.
baby, I don't think that most men, and baby, there's a lot of noise coming through, baby.
Why? I haven't changed anything.
No, I know, but if you're like blowing your nose and moving around when you're not
I'm
talking, can
not.
you? Okay, I don't know where that sound's coming from then.
I'm
But anyway,
literally just sitting here with the phone in my hand.
okay, I don't know where that's. Okay, everything's fine now. Um, I don't think most men have a problem with their woman working. I think the problem happens when the woman out earns the man or out earns the man by a mile, right? It's one thing, let's say if you're the breadwinner as a woman and you're making 100 grand and the man's making 80 or 85 grand, that's pretty close. That's not really that big of a deal. It still can be, but more so, let's say if you're the woman making 150 grand a year and your man's making 40K a year, that any man in that position is going to feel less of a man. My woman,
Obviously.
my woman makes four times what I make. It's like, yeah, I can be progressive and respect my woman, but it makes me feel like I can't be the head of the household and be the man I was meant to be. At the same
But
time,
that
no
should
matter,
motivate man.
hold on, baby. At the same time, a woman is going to end up losing respect for a man at some point if she's out earning him by four times. And no matter what she feels now, even if she's happy that she's been liberated and is able to be the breadwinner, at some point she will lose respect for that man because women have always looked up to a man for their resources, for their emotional strength, physical strength, and their ability to provide. And if a woman's out earning the man, 4-1, then that's gonna question his ability to provide, right? It just that's one aspect that affects relationships. I'm not trying to take away from women that are big earners, but that's how it affects men, which in turn affects the woman too. Anything else, baby? I know you were going to say something. I was in
Well,
the middle of a sentence and you were ready to rock it.
it's okay. No, my thing is that when I whenever I went into a relationship, I looked at what their career was and I didn't compare it to what I could make. I knew I was gonna probably out make them 100%, being that one was a cook, one was a security
Mhm.
guard. Um, and but I didn't judge that all at first. All I wanted to see is if these men were going to be strong enough to make a future and do better with their lives, or are you just going to settle for the bare minimum? And when they did, that's when they left. That's when I got rid of them. If you want to just, I'm not going to be your sugar mama. Sorry, you
Mm.
know? And a lot of these men are doing that now. And they're not putting themselves forward and actually, getting themselves out there. And it's actually quite disturbing because honestly, I've never dealt with this in my life. My father, my brothers, my ex-husband, all hardworking men. Like, I just can't even imagine what these people are doing. So yeah, it was an eye opener.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, baby. I'm going to read this last quote here, and then we're going to take a break. It matters less what you believe and more what the cultural rewards and punishments are, Dandelo says. We're just going to leave that one alone. No response to that unless you want to throw something in there, baby.
Nope.
All right. So, baby, there's not a whole lot left here. We got about maybe another 30 or 40 minutes when we get back because we got through more than half of the second part. We are at 1 hour and 11 minutes, baby. I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage. I've got some music queued up. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will finish things up, baby. But before we go on the
Sounds
break,
good.
how do you feel the show's going so far? I really think
Oh, I
even this
think it's
part
going
two,
great.
this part two is just incredible, like even more incredibly informative than even part one was. I mean, the whole thing is good, but this is a very important topic that can really help a lot of men that are struggling with emotional issues or emotional trauma or trauma stemming back to your childhood or a past relationship, right? Or friendship, right?
Yes.
So, all right, baby, I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage and be back in just a bit here, going backstage. All right, my ladies backstage, we're going to switch back over to full screen. Music is all queued up. We're going to step away for a quick 8 or 9 minute break. And then when we come back, we can have another 30 or 40 minutes left. This is incredible. This is important information. I hope as many people as possible come across this 2-part series here on Coach Eli, 2 uncensored live streams. So we'll be back in just a bit to finish this up. Stick around, stick around, stick around, round. We'll be right back. this show, everybody. That is Silent Partner with Lay It Down from the wonderful, amazing YouTube audio library. Oh, yeah. This is Do It by Joe Bagel from the YouTube audio library. Shake it up. Yeah, baby. Feel it, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, live here on YouTube, live on Coach Eli 2. Coach Eli 2 Uncensored live streams. We're glad you could all join us today for part 2 of this amazing show here. We'll get more into the recap here in just a second. But before we get to that, just want to make you folks aware that this channel here is very, very close to being monetized. We are creeping closer to the watch time requirements each and every day. Once this channel does get monetized, most, if not all, of my live streams will be moving over here from my main channel, including my Walking with Purpose live show. By the way, another Walking with Purpose live stream on my main channel, Coach Eli, Elias Melas, will be happening later this afternoon, a few hours after this show ends. So, keep it locked here to the Coach Eli network to find out between my videos here and my community tabs as well. And once we move all the live streaming content over to this channel, my main channel, we'll focus more on bite-sized, high-quality content at the highest quality, 4K at 60 frames per second. Boy, 4K at 60 frames per second. I can't get the words out. I'm so excited about this. And then we're also going to be creating some more YouTube shorts and also creating some more exclusive members-only content on that channel. And one more thing before we get back to it here. This channel, because this channel is not monetized, if you would like to make a donation to support this channel, you can make a donation in any amount based on the value you feel you are receiving by PayPal, via PayPal, or Cash App. Nightbot is sharing both my PayPal and Cash App links every 7 minutes. On PayPal, you can go to paypal.me/Coach Eli, or on Cash App, you can go to $the real Coach Eli. And as always, donations are greatly appreciated, but they are not required. Okay, today we've been discussing, my lady and I talk about why modern men are so insecure, part 2. One more time, my lady and I talk about why modern men are so insecure, part 2. Now, part 1 happened about 3 days ago. The replay is available here on this channel. Just look for it and you'll find it. Most of you folks know how to navigate YouTube and how to find it, so I don't have to tell you. But today we're doing part 2. And if you missed part 1 of the show, go back and check out the replay. Most of my live streams do have the DVR function, also known as the rewind, disabled because I want people to be here live and engaged. So if you missed that, go back and check it out, because I honestly think out of, the entire previous show we did during part 1 and this show here, I feel that's probably going to be one of the most important sections. It's all important, but a lot of great stuff was discussed between what the blog author said and my lady and I commented on that can truly help you guys turn your lives around and become the strong, down-to-earth gentleman you were meant to be. All right, so my lady's waiting patiently backstage. Let's bring her back onto the front lines. Welcome back, babe, to the front lines. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, my love.
I love you, baby.
I love you too, baby. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. We're going to have a great time this weekend. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, let's not waste time talking about that. We got a good maybe 30 to 40 minutes max left on this show, maybe a little less. So you ready to get right back to it?
Absolutely.
All right, let's switch back over to the browser source and leave off where we left off. It'll pop up on your screen in just a minute or so, babe. Aside from the uncertainties of masculinity, what clinicians and social scientists overwhelmingly agree on is that making manhood the enemy may not be the constructive way to push for change. Well, I don't think anyone, including women, uh, were ever trying to make manhood the enemy or say that, you know what, ladies, it's our time right now. Men have been leading this shit forever. It's time for us to lead it. I don't think that women had, those intentions. Now, are there some women that I call radical feminists that have had those intentions and still have them to this day? Sure. But I genuinely believe, baby, and you can, share your thoughts on this. I genuinely believe that most women are reasonable women and they just want to have their fair shot to prove what they're worth. Right?
Yes.
Is that it? Yes? Simple yes? Wow.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, you're right.
Nothing more to add to that. It was just so well said. You're just saying, yes, baby, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue, baby. Wow, this is beautiful. Baby, we have such a wonderful relationship. It's just, and it's not even our relationship. It's just the way we communicate and how we understand life as best as possible, between men and women. The floating of the term toxic masculinity in quotes has a tendency to start vicious cycles rolling downhill. Why? It is itself an effort to define masculinity and, as such, a pretty lousy means of striking up a constructive conversation. Proving this is not hard. One only needs to try to participate in a discussion about gender on Twitter. I really respect what this woman is saying. She's basically saying that, hey, ladies, we're not here to bash masculinity, okay? Feminism, women's lib, women rising up and being equal from a civil rights and equal rights standpoint was not ever about bashing men. It was just about us being able to have the same opportunities that once only men had. And I respect that. And as far as Twitter goes, we'll talk about that in a second. But first, what are your thoughts about what I just mentioned, baby, and what was just said?
Actually, I do have some strong thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
With my ex, like I did like strike against him and try to degrade his masculinity because he had no desire to do any better.
He had no
And he's like,
balls.
well, what are you going to do? Are you going to get a 401k? Are you going to get retirement? Are you going to do all this stuff? Because why should I do it if you're not? And so once I got it and I did it, like that just made me feel like, I can't be with this guy. Like he is putting too much responsibilities on me and not taking any responsibilities on himself.
Yeah, baby, the reason why you questioned his masculinity is because you had every right to. He wasn't showing up being a man. He was acting like, I wouldn't even say acting like a woman, because most women nowadays, are behaving better than most of these men, right?
No, he was
And
acting like a
so and
child.
yeah, if a woman questions your masculinity, then it's something wrong with the way the man is showing up. When a man shows up as a man and is confident, kind of like how I show up, there's no need to question his masculinity. Baby, have you ever once, and I'm just putting this out there for example purposes. I'm not looking for you to stroke my ego live on the air. We just want to help
No, baby,
people.
you're
But
good.
but have you once ever had to question my masculinity?
Nope.
And why not?
Uh, because there's no reason to.
And why is there no reason to? I want to delve deep into this so people can really understand This is all it
I
takes.
mean, like, I don't feel any insecurities from you. You are a strong man. When I'm with you, I know that I can feel the strength off of you. So, yeah, I don't doubt anything.
Okay, let's continue. One example, in August, author Rollo Tomasi. I'm not a big Rollo Tomasi fan. He's the guy that's been a part of this red pill, this toxic red pill community online, stemming from that former group I've talked about called MGTOW, which stands for Men Going Their Own Way. And he's been kind of chastised for a lot of things. But I'm not really the biggest fan of anyone in that red pill community. But he tweeted, children from single parent households, overwhelmingly single mothers, account for 80% of rapists, motivated by displaced anger. Congratulations, feminism. You've literally bred and raised the rape culture you claim to fear. This is bullshit. Let me continue reading this. To this provocation, a user named Miss Stir replied that 43% of boys are raised by single mothers, 78% of teachers are female, so almost 50% of boys have 100% feminine influence while at home, and an 8 to 10-ish chance of 100% influence at school. Toxic masculinity isn't the problem. Lack of masculinity is. Let me read that one more time. That's big. Toxic masculinity isn't the problem. Lack of masculinity is. And in my opinion, the lack of masculinity is what causes toxic masculinity. What are your thoughts, baby?
I call bullshit. I call bullshit on this whole paragraph. Because you know what?
Yeah.
Boys that are raised by moms, just by moms that don't have father figures, have absolutely more respect for women than they do for men. Because they were abandoned by the man in their life. Mm-hmm. So they respect that woman. And if their teachers are women, they're respecting that.
Right.
You know, I do not believe like it's all about the fact that men don't have the masculinity and they walk away.
Yeah, and baby, you were abandoned by your biological father. And so you're one that can speak from experience on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But fortunately for you, your mother, remarried and married, a guy
a very strong man.
A very strong man, very masculine man. And you've actually looked up to him as your father. You don't even think of him as your stepfather, even though technically he is. You respect him as your father.
He's my daddy.
Yeah. And that's why, baby, yes, you've had a lot of trauma, but the reason why your trauma wasn't worse, and it could have been worse, is because you had a great father figure growing up, and you had your mother. Yes, there's still some trauma with some of the abandonment and other things we talked about. People want to hear more about that, they can go back and watch, the 2-part interview, where we shared your incredible, transformation and life story and what you've been through. But I've got to say, baby, I'm really proud of how you've worked through all this. And yes, again, going back to Rollo Tomasi, I'm not trying to criticize Rollo or talk smack about him, but he's a married man. This guy has been getting chastised throughout the male space, as a married man for decades, coming out here and trying to share his experiences of why things are the way they are. In all honesty, I really don't think that Rollo has experienced enough of the modern day woman and modern day dating to even be able to speak about it. That's why I honestly think that what he puts out there really is not helpful. And this is with no disrespect. He's put out some books and people bought the books. But nowadays people will buy anything, right? If you know how to market yourself, people will buy anything. But honestly, I think his content is hogwash. I think it's just to try
Yeah.
to make money. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
no, we're not neutering boys. The mothers are not the problem. It's the fact that their fathers walked away, which is what the major problem is.
correct.
So, no, we are not neutering our boys. We are literally empowering them to be better men in the future because their fathers weren't. And this
Right.
has
And
nothing to do with me and my story. My ex-husband's a great dad, but there are a lot of single moms out there that I know personally that have to do this.
right. Right. And baby, here's the thing real quick about Rollo Tomasi. What Rollo Tomasi has done over the last decade or two, or however long he's been doing this, I think he's been married like over 30 years. Basically, he has preyed on the vulnerabilities of a lot of these younger men and is basically just telling them what they want to hear so he can sell his books and stuff. And again, I mean, to each its own. If that works for Rollo, if he's making money, if people want to buy his books and stuff, that's fine. But these guys are just not getting the,
The right advice.
the right information.
Yeah.
So
I would be actually really into collaborating with a bunch of different single moms with sons to write a book about this. Not just my experience, but all of these other moms with single, like with children that are men and they're on their own. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and
That'd be a
continue.
great panel to pull people on and then see if we can't get a book together. Because you know
Mhm.
what? It's not always mama's fault. It's not always daddy's fault. We don't have that much control. I've learned that. I raised
Absolutely.
my kids a certain way. They're not acting the way I raised them at certain times. That's not on me. That's on them.
Yeah. No, that's true. All right, let's continue here. The down course devolved from there, divided between people supporting, insulting, and questioning Stir and Tomasi. So what are you saying? Boys are being neutered? Bruce Schwab asked, toxic femininity is a problem. Well, it can be. This is more like radical feminism. I don't think there's such a thing as toxic femininity. I think it's more of radical feminism compared to just normal feminism, which is what every woman's a part of. Let's see.
Fuck.
David Hunt added, William Dixon was more critical, tweeting, if your understanding of simple math is so poor, you may not have a strong grasp of complex social issues. Yeah, I mean, I think here's the thing. A lot of people. Did he boot you off again?
Yes.
Okay, no
It was
worries. It's
actually
fine.
Buster this time.
Okay, not a big deal. I totally forgot what I was. I forgot what I was going to say. So, did you hear that last part, or should I read it again?
I was listening. It's the understanding of simple math. That's
If
where
your
I left
understanding
off.
of simple math is so poor, you may not have a strong grasp of complex social issues. And again, I think that a lot of people are creating their content nowadays in ways that's going to get them traction and make them money, not necessarily get you the right information to help you. And that's the thing. the problem I've dealt with on social media, YouTube, and other platforms is that I'm outranked by people that are, um, I don't know if I'd call it spreading misinformation, but they're basically just preying on the vulnerabilities of these men, and basically telling these men what these men want to hear. And then, these men continue to stay in this vulnerable state and continue paying monthly for these guys' programs, and they never get better, because the moment these guys get better, the people, the other men creating these programs are not going to make any more money off of them. And that's where I feel the problem is. What are your thoughts about the program move forward, babe?
Oh no, I agree with what you're saying.
Other responses were just strange, like one from a hypnosis, Gnosis, who claimed being raised by a single mother taught him that even approaching a woman is harassment. Naturally, his bio reads, retweets mean we're engaged. Finally, a man named Nick derailed the thread entirely with Canadian public school is child abuse. As with just about all arguments on social media, no one learned anything. Let's continue, because I don't think we really even need to respond to that.
Yeah, I don't
Still,
understand that.
well, let's continue, because this one will make sense here. Still coddling or talking past problematically insecure men is not a viable solution to the problem presented by gender insecurity. So what is? So basically, this is something that I've talked a lot about in the past. I even used to talk about this with my ex-girlfriend, Dana, because she's a child development expert, and went to school for that. And she would say, and I would say too, like, a lot of these men are coddled at a very young age, and they're still being coddled when they become adults. Their parents coddle them, family coddles them, and it's like these guys never learn to become real, independent, strong men, secure men, because of all the coddling they continue getting in their adulthood. What are your thoughts about that, babe?
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely
Okay.
agree with what you're saying. And LOL Queen. The dog is like hand over the phone, LOL. No, he actually jumped off because there was a dog barking outside and he literally just jumped on the phone. So, silly puppy.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, baby, or should we continue?
No, let's go.
Strangely, the answer may be demanding more. Each expert interviewed for this article independently noted positive aspects of performed masculinity: heroism, action-based empathy such as protecting others, expertise amassing resources, and work ethic. Demanding men meet these standards and celebrating those who do might positively refocus the energies of men afraid of having their masculinity stripped from them. Anything you want to add to that, babe? I don't have anything to add to that. That just makes sense.
No,
I'm, I
I
mean,
think that actually is. Yeah, no, nothing to add.
nothing to add to it. Okay, the good news is we've already seen this work. Arguably, one of the healthiest forms of modern masculinity is engaged fatherhood, a fairly new masculine ideal. Caregiving demands a lot of men, but can be ennobling and, if positioned correctly, masculinizing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a man even being a nurse. Like, I have friends that are male nurses, or at one point in their life were male nurses. It doesn't make them any less of a man. There's nothing wrong with a man being nurturing and taking care of people. There's a
No,
reason that,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. There's a reason that the heavily branded movement towards male parental involvement has been largely fronted by athletes who pose fatherhood as a challenge. There's a reason the initial and rather unsubtle tagline for this publication was "Win Parenting." Okay? Anything you want to add to that, baby? I just think it makes
Um,
sense.
It does make sense. I don't understand the last like line there, but yeah, no, it does make sense.
Well, when parenting is basically raising your kids properly, raising your little boy properly to become a strong, healthy, secure, masculine man.
Mm, okay,
Does that make sense?
sure.
Okay. I mean, sounds like you're a little confused by it, baby. Is there anything I can?
No, I just believe in raising my son to be the man that he wants to be and not giving him any influences. I want him
Well,
to make his own judgments. I want him to know who he is and how he wants to do things in life.
well, yeah, baby. I'm saying. Well, I think what you're saying is that each individual strong man has their own purpose, right? You want your son to find out what his purpose is and live his purpose. But
Yes, not influencing.
right, and right. But when you're talking about masculinity, masculinity is pretty general. Men behave a certain way, and women behave a certain way at a normal biological level. When it comes to defining our purpose as a man and your purpose as ladies, those are, whatever you want to make yourself to be at an individual basis. But masculinity is a pretty generalized thing, and femininity is a pretty generalized thing at a normal biological level. Does that make sense? I think that's what may have confused you a little bit.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
it
we can move.
does. And I think
Okay,
that's where my son has a lot of confusion
okay.
because he didn't was raised with myself, my ex-husband, and in a time where we respected each other as man and woman. And now my son is growing up in this very feminist world
Hmm.
where he's not understanding what's coming at him.
Yeah, yeah, and he's still young. He's in his early to almost mid 20s, and even when I was at that age, I didn't know, 90% of the stuff I know today. So this is just normal for his age, and he's going to learn it. So
Yeah.
I have faith. Sounds like he's going to turn out just fine to me. Um,
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of faith in him.
Absolutely. Let's see how much do we have left. Oh, we're down to the last, you know, uh, one small paragraph and one long paragraph. Let's do this. We're about to wrap this up, folks. Get your questions, comments, and concerns in the chat. We're going to be wrapping this up in about 10 minutes or less. A lot of men look back at their own fathers and think, I don't want to be this way, Vandello says. I want to deal with my problems in a more constructive way. That speaks for itself there, you know.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like you want to have your own individual purpose, not what your father
Well,
or mother wants you to be.
but most men and most women strive to be like their parents. So a statement like, I don't want to be anything like my father, uh, that's really kind of deep.
Okay. I totally agree with what you're saying there. Yeah. I mean, I think each individual man is going to have his own purpose on top of being a strong, confident, mature, secure man. All right, final paragraph
Yeah,
here.
but they learn from their fathers. And I know that you have mad respect for your dad, and you would never say, I want to deal with my problems and move in a different constructive way. You know, my dad has led a life that, was very positive, taught us a lot of things about self-employment and taking care of the family. And, you know, we all have taken that into account. Um, I just, as a daughter, I even look up to my father as being my role model. So it just, that, it makes me sad to see that men look back and think, I don't want to be this way.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, baby. I totally
That's
understand.
all.
And
If I could be like my dad, I would.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's continue here. We have one last part here, and then we're going to wrap this up. And I got to get ready for my walk. Instead of rejecting masculinity as toxic, it is possible to use its ambiguity to ask more of men, as psychologist and writer Jordan Peterson has done, garnering both international fandom and energetic critique. It is possible that this may encourage more generational progress among men who cling to and defend their manhood the most fiercely. Masculinity will not likely cease to be important to these men, but if the values attached to it become healthier, so might the men plagued by it. Perhaps the ultimate twist in the myth of the toxic man is that an evolved and intrinsic form of masculinity might be the solution. Vandello admits that it is entirely possible for manhood to become less elusive, more attainable, and healthier. It is even possible that having a strong sense of self-worth, regardless of what others think, could be considered manlier over time. If masculinity is a construct that needs to be reinforced for some men over and over again, make it bear repeating. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to add to that. That was said beautifully. What are your thoughts,
Wow,
babe?
word,
That's a,
church. Take
I
me
mean,
to church.
yeah, I
You
mean,
took me
that's,
to church with that.
yeah, no,
That one
absolutely.
statement. It's even possible that having a strong sense of self-worth, regardless of what others think, could be considered manlier over time. Yes, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what it comes down to.
yeah, yeah. That's what it comes down to. I mean, I have nothing more to add to that. I mean, today, the second half of this blog blew my mind. Blew my mind. It was spot on what many of these men are struggling with nowadays. And before we wrap this up, baby, share your final thoughts. I honestly feel that if men watch this two-part series here on Coach Eli 2, and I'm going to heavily promote this over the course of time, they can turn their life around and become the amazing man or men they were meant to be.
So sorry about that.
It's okay.
He
So
just
sorry about what?
did something outside and jumped up.
No worries. What are your final thoughts, baby? And we're going to wrap this up.
Oh, my final thoughts are that I have several super masculine men in my life, including you, my father, my two brothers, even my ex-husband. And I have so much respect for all of you. Um, none of y'all degrade women. None of y'all like make us feel like we're less than you. Every man I stated promotes the most encouragement for their partners and friends in their life. So, you know, I want to say kudos to those men.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have nothing more to add to it because we've said it all. And yeah, again, I really want to help as many men as possible, and I know you do too, baby. We want to help women too, but this was more of a show based on why modern men are so insecure. We really want to help you guys become the strong, confident, successful men that you were meant to be. And we feel that you're not getting the right help and the right information elsewhere. A lot of other people are trying to sell you a pipe dream just to fund their pockets. Here, I
Yeah.
give away most of my information for free. And you can check it out. And guess what? If it works for you and you turn your life around, maybe you might turn around and throw us a little bit by way of donation.
I give my
That's
information away for free as well.
right. And here's the thing, and you don't even have to donate. All you have to do is follow the content and apply what we teach here, and it will turn your life around. Baby, I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage. I'm going to wrap up the show in about a minute or so, and I will briefly call you in about 5 minutes or so, 5 minutes or less, to just make you aware of my upcoming show today and a few things before you go and do your things. All right,
Sounds
baby?
good, baby.
Baby, thank you for being here. This was a great two-part series. I love you,
Yeah,
and
thank
I will
you
talk to
so
you in a
much.
bit.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. All right. Let's go back to full screen and wrap this up. Thank you to everybody for being here. Queen Helen Casey, Lewis Fuller, and who else was here? NC's Queen was here earlier, and anyone else watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, bang the bell, select all notifications, and that way you won't miss anything. I'm going to be going live from my main channel within a couple of hours on Coach Eli, Elias Melas. Nightbot has been sharing the link every 7 minutes here in the chat to my main channel, or just go to youtube.com/Life Coach Eli. Subscribe, bang the bell, and select all notifications so you won't miss anything. With that being said, have yourselves a great day and see you all next time. Take care, and as always, be good to each other.